Welcome to Season 3 of the Knack 4 Business Podcast. Over 300 episodes strong, we're here to ignite your entrepreneurial spirit with fresh insights, networking gems, and creative strategies that elevate your game. Are you ready to discover what your Knack 4 business truly is? Your hosts are Bernie Franz Grote from Creative Insight and Wayne Pratt from Motive 8U Inc.
Today's topic is how to leverage LinkedIn to get real results. Question for the audience: how can you turn your LinkedIn profile into a powerful tool that actually generates leads and grows your business? That's what our guest is all about. Tony K. Silver is a multi-award-winning LinkedIn expert and creator of the LinkedIn Profile Audit, titled LIPA, a powerful tool that generates qualified leads, builds relationships, and drives sales. With experience dating back to 2009, Tony's deep understanding of LinkedIn's algorithm has earned him top rankings as a profiler of the platform. Founder of Solid Silver Solutions, later rebranded under his own name, Tony delivers his personalized LinkedIn strategies that consistently produce results for clients ranging from solopreneurs to global corporations. Known as a go-to guy for LinkedIn, he's worked with clients in businesses and education, helping individuals and teams from 16 to 85 years of age across 4 continents. Whether one-on-one or through workshops, webinars, and speaking engagements, Tony brings a practical, results-driven approach to help businesses harness the power of LinkedIn. And as a side note, he's known ground on 4 separate occasions, but he's not taking you with him on the LinkedIn journey that way. Tony, welcome. And what is your favorite quote or saying, sir?
It's not who you know or what you know, it's the action that you take, because it's great knowing people. It's great knowing a bit of knowledge. If you don't do anything about it, what was the point?
So 2009, there was a seminal moment you going, that's what I got to do. What brought you into LinkedIn? What struck the chord for you?
End of 2008, so beginning of 2009, I got redundant. There was a massive recession back in those days. I lost a very nice job. And it was, what do I do to find a new job? Having done a lot of research and asking questions is what I tend to do. It basically was 2 things: go networking, which I still do voraciously, and start using LinkedIn properly. I was on LinkedIn, and that's how it all started. I got trained on how to use it because I found everyone I met was on it, but most of them didn't know what they were doing.
That happens with new tech or new things, or you find out where the boundaries are. So you started as Solid Silver Solutions, and so talk about that journey, unfold it a bit more, and up to being one of the top LinkedIn profilers.
Yeah, it was learning how to use LinkedIn, learning how to network, found me a job. And when the budget for that disappeared, I got myself another job. And in 2017, I decided that I'd had enough working for other people that didn't respect me. I was helping people on LinkedIn, and most people fell into that. I'm on LinkedIn, but I don't really know what I'm doing. When I've asked them a few questions, they couldn't answer them. But there's a business in this, and I put a business plan together. I work with a mentor. So that's my top business tip, not LinkedIn tip, but top business tip. Get yourself a mentor who's been there and importantly failed, because they know both sides of the story. He helped me put it together. We launched in 2018. Going back to 2009, I got introduced to a group of LinkedIn trainers across the world, which I'm still part of. Used to have them as a support mechanism back in the days, but now I'm a fully fledged member. As a collaboration, we share information, which means when LinkedIn does its famous rolling out of new features, first of all, it doesn't tell the members it's doing it. And secondly, it goes in waves. We share the information. Oh, I've just seen this. So we're ahead of the curve. We beta test directly for LinkedIn as well. We always know what's going on. And that made me even more interested in getting people to actually understand, say the word demystify, how it works. When I started getting results, I personally use LinkedIn recommendations as a credibility statement, and I've got 355 people I've worked with that are happy, satisfied, and singing my tune. Somewhere along the line, and I still haven't found out who or when, if it's the same person, kept putting me forward for awards. because they were happy with what I did. None of the awards I've won, I've ever entered. Someone's put me forward for, and I've been asked if I wanted to accept the nomination. I don't believe in putting myself forward. But if someone is happy to do it, I was getting consistent results for people. And therefore, that's why I got put forward and put forward a good case. And yes, I've just done another one recently as well to add to it.
I'll ask one of the hard questions right up front. What are solopreneurs doing wrong that you can help them?
No, I never say the word wrong, because if you've never been shown how to use it, you never got the manual, and LinkedIn haven't told you about all the updates, how are you meant to actually use this? It's the same with any product. Good old Swedish IKEA and their flat pack furniture. We, being blokes, will probably throw the instructions away, open the packet up, and then halfway through realize we've got to read the instructions to do that. Know what we're doing. It's the same on LinkedIn. Without that manual, without those instructions, how are you meant to succeed? Lots of solopreneurs try and be all things to all people. Therefore, they think they can just muddle their way through. And that's where it all falls to pieces. They don't understand how to use it. Therefore, I'm not saying they're doing things wrong. They just don't know what to do.
I think it's interesting you mentioned that, LinkedIn will roll out in waves updates. And sometimes there's an art form of how do you make something more attractive or to reach the audience and attractive, so that actually reach and attractive. And that all comes back to algorithms. What are the key tips with algorithms? If you have a message to get out, you got to be mindful of the reader's perspective, where they're at. But how do you wrap that up in a cloak of algorithm to make sure that it's extremely successful?
A lot of people talk about algorithms. It's one of the areas that we need to study and we need to look at on a regular basis, because it does change. There tends to be one or two big changes every year, but they're tinkering with it continually. So we're continually testing it. When I teach people about activities on LinkedIn, the things affected by the algorithm, don't worry about the algorithm initially. We need to be putting out quality. Don't post just because you think you've got to, because someone's giving you some peer pressure. You do need to be consistent. But that doesn't mean you need to be posting every day. You need to find a level that you're comfortable with. When you do post, we need to consider the algorithm, but also the reader. Who is going to read this? Why would they read this? So I always say to people, think about making sure your posts are informational, proving that you're an expert in your field, something of interest to the reader that's going to make them want to read it. But also, the thing that a lot of people don't get right is make it discussional. People have got opinions, and that's the way LinkedIn works. LinkedIn, for those of you out there, I might shock some people here, views and impressions on LinkedIn count for absolutely zero. So don't worry about your 500 or 5,000 impressions of your post. What we're looking for is the engagement side of it. Every single post I put out, most of them have a question at the end, and therefore I'm looking for engagement. And it's those things that you need to be concerned about. The algorithm will affect it on average. When you post, they send it to between 8 to 10% of our connections. So you've got that initial restriction. So if you've got 1,000 connections, okay, only 80 to 100 will have it put in their actual feed to see and interact with. Times of day, days of the week, and formats do really affect it. That's what we're looking at on the algorithm. What type of posts are currently doing well? What type of posts are bobbing? It goes in waves, and just as you think you've sussed it, it will turn again. This is why we are continually updating our clients. I say to people, don't chase the algorithm. If you've got good quality stuff in the first place, that's what counts. Driving people to your profile, putting out lots of stuff. If it's not very good in the first place, what sort of damage is that doing?
You always hear, like, when you sign up for LinkedIn, there's this user agreement that uses a 0.4 font that's 75 pages. How do you get banned or shunned on LinkedIn without being malicious?
Yeah, I'm a speaker, and one of my warm-up parts of a presentation is I go, okay, ladies and gentlemen, whenever you joined LinkedIn and it started in May 2003, did you actually read the user agreement? In 15, 16 years, no one's ever said yes. And that includes the rooms full of lawyers who should know better. But yes, the LinkedIn user agreement has been tweaked over the years. And I suggest people look it up, because you could be doing some stuff on LinkedIn without meaning to, not deliberately breaking the rules, because some of them are really rather silly. And a classic example, Wayne, is using the name field for anything else other than your name and any official qualifications. So if you're Wayne Pratt MBA, absolutely fine. If you're Wayne Pratt and you give yourself a self-made title, that's breaking the rules and LinkedIn will remove you. Automation, one of the biggest sins on LinkedIn. Really consider before you use any automation why you're doing it. Because there are a lot of people out there selling automation and telling you, oh yeah, LinkedIn won't spot it. LinkedIn are owned by Microsoft. They'll spot it. In fact, there are approved lists and also blacklists. And I've just literally had a meeting and the person sent me through, oh, I think you should have a look at this. Yeah, I will look at it. I'll look for it on the banned list first before I even touch it. Because there are so many things you can do. What I suggest to people is that you probably weren't given it. It was there when you first joined. Do yourself a favor, just go and put LinkedIn user agreement into Google. Have a quick read. Otherwise, you can fall foul of it. Absolutely. And it's probably not intentional. Some people do push their luck and they deserve to be kicked off. But most people don't fit into that category.
Just a follow-up question on that. How permanent is that? Or can you recover from that? Or is it a timeout? There are other platforms that go, you know what? You've been naughty. We're going to boot you off for 30 days and then come back and don't do that or don't post certain type of content.
We have LinkedIn jail. You get put in LinkedIn jail. It's normally 7 days. You can't log into your LinkedIn account and then they will return it to you in 7 days. If you continue to break the user agreement, then you might be permanently removed. I know people that have been removed without any warning whatsoever. Literally gone into login in the morning and not got any access to it. LinkedIn have told that they've broken the rules and that they are removed because they agreed to the rules in the first place when they joined, which of course they never read. There are ways and means of disputing this. There are ways and means of reaching out. And I know people that have come back because, as I say, not always the reasons that you get kicked off are really that serious, and therefore you can actually reclaim your account. I would suggest you go down that route first before you start a new account, which you can do ultimately if you set up an account with a different email address. They're not to know, they're not that clever, but you've got to start from scratch. Let's look. Bernie, here's a prime live example. Bernie joined LinkedIn, or the last time he joined LinkedIn was October 2007. Yes, 17 years and a bit. I've lost information if you get removed, which I'm not saying it will take you another 17 years to build it up, but yeah, I suggest that you dispute it with LinkedIn. There are channels to do it. And quite often, if it's LinkedIn's kind of being a little bit over cautious, then you will get reinstated. But you do get put in LinkedIn jail and you will be warned. I got warned because I call myself Tony Caseover, the LinkedIn profiler. Pointed out I can't use that.
Interesting. So you do audits. You have a program called LIPA.
Yeah, LinkedIn profile audit. This was trendy 6 or 7 years ago when I started the company. I needed an acronym. Now I absolutely hate acronyms personally because they assume too much. LinkedIn profile audits, because I'm a profiler and that's what I do. You know, the distinction very much is I'm not a LinkedIn coach, LinkedIn trainer. I'm a LinkedIn profiler, which means I look at someone's profile. I listen to questions and answers when we have a session. I'm looking for whatever it is they have as a desired outcome from being on LinkedIn. That's really important to find out. Why are they on LinkedIn? What are they trying to achieve? If that is achievable and I can help them achieve it, a big part of that is auditing your profile. We never got instructions when you first joined. So you filled it in. And since you joined, and certainly since Bernie joined, it's changed tremendously over that period of time. Some of the sections that appear on LinkedIn nowadays weren't available to Bernie and myself back in those days. They weren't around. They've added them since. And there are subsections of subsections, and there are little tweaks here and there. Therefore, knowing what they all are, the first port of call as a profiler is to look at that. So you want to use your profile to do this. 80% of my clients, they need to make money out of their LinkedIn activities. They need to generate leads, sales, whatever it is. Other people are career, recruitment side of it, and a small amount just want to have a really good looking profile because they're senior. They need to have that sort of persona as part of their branding.
How do you find qualified leads without looking like a late night knife salesman on TV?
Don't I look like that? My business is run by having done it for quite a while. But yes, like everyone else, part of the process for virtually everyone that I train is we have to prospect from time to time, whether it's all the time for some people, and some people it is from now and again. It's a massive database, and not everyone thinks about that. But when I tell them, they'll go, oh, yeah, of course it is. If you believe LinkedIn, and I suggest you check their wording, there are 1.1 billion people on LinkedIn. That's not true. The answer to the question, how many people joined LinkedIn since May of 2003? And that's correct. But as I said before, people do get removed. People remove themselves. LinkedIn cull people. I mean, they've culled probably over 100 million people at least off LinkedIn. So we got to consider that. It is a big platform, lots of people on it, but it is a database, so we can search it. My training, when I do training with people, is based upon them having the free standard version of LinkedIn. They're not on premium. They haven't bought Sales Navigator. That's not as bad as it used to be. Those two things had a bit more of an advantage than they do these days in my book. So for anyone that's doing a search on LinkedIn, unfortunately, I need to teach them how to search because they generally don't search very well. They are using very generic job titles, in which case they get some very large answers. Quite often, HR directors comes out regularly when I ask it on stage, and it's about 5 million. You know, we've just got time to even start looking at a list of 5 million people. No one I know. I show them within the standard free version of LinkedIn, you can drive that down to 50 in about 2 minutes, which isn't too shabby. A list of 50, most people are reasonably happy to have a go at. The first thing when I look at a list of 50 people is I look at their individual profiles. The first thing that I would always suggest you go looking for, are they active? Go and look at their activities. If LinkedIn says this person hasn't posted for 3, 6, 9, 12 months, I wouldn't bother. They're not active. They're not even probably looking at it. Forget them. But those that are, reach out to them. Now, LinkedIn restricted the number of notes you can add to connection requests, which hasn't really helped things. But your ways and means of getting to people. But realistically, if as the person I was training this morning said, can I do this? I said, yeah, you can do that. Do you want to get ghosted? No, don't go with the sales line. We're here to build relationships. So the first thing to do is to build that. I have a system of give, ask, and tell. That's the way I operate. When I initially reach out to someone in America, I'm only asking 3 people a day, but I've targeted them. They're not just random. They are highly targeted. And the message is getting 1 in 3 of them are connecting with me. They had no idea who I was before I sent them that message, because the message is not salesy in any way whatsoever. In fact, there's two little things I suggest, 2 tips. Firstly, go and actually look at their profile in the first place. So many people send stuff without clearly having ever read their profiles. When you make the outreach to the person, refer to something on their profile, whether it's their last post, which is a common way of going about it. I see you posting a recent post about AI and the troubles about AI in this industry. Yeah, I agree. I've been to a few conferences about that. Get some commonality in there. But I do use a very simple one, and I tend to use it as my go-to. There's no rocket science involved in this. I look at their activities, say they have to be active or I won't reach out to them. I've done a highly targeted search for whatever that is. So it could be lawyers in New York, whatever it's going to be. You come out in the top X. I tell them exactly how many people were in that search, and it's normally quite small. It basically gives them 2 feelings: curiosity of how that happened, and an ego for in the top something on LinkedIn. Right. As you're active, I would love to connect with you, because less than 1% of people on LinkedIn are active, and I only want to be involved with people that are active. I'm sure you do as well. They are fed up with people connecting with them, ghosting them, not paying any attention to them whatsoever. So if someone is actually active and can prove it, that is a great way of reaching out. I do connect with people. One of the reasons I'm connecting with people is I would potentially like to work with them, and they can pay me lots of money. But that's not the start. That's nowhere near the start of the journey. That's got to be further down when we've built that relationship up. Too many people go, oh, I'm connected. Oh, they try and sell something almost straight away, and then they wonder why they're ghosted. And the reason is you're filling your favorite Canadian American swear word.
So one thing that it is clear that LinkedIn is the best granular marketplace where you only deal with left-handed redheads that are over 5'9". What is the biggest single difference between this incredibly powerful tool that should be changing every business's life, from the plumber to the brain surgeon, and it not happening in the average business owner's?
I think with most things, you need to be on the platform that's right for you. So one of the first things that I do when I do a discovery call with someone, I find out what they want, what they need. And it's just making sure that you listen to what they say and then you present back. I don't have a cookie cutter solution. I have some things that I can do for people, but I need to find out what the outcomes they're trying to achieve. And most of the times that means that their avatar is on LinkedIn. Okay. It's the professional's platform of choice. Maybe not quite the builders, the plumbers and all that. Maybe the blue collar workers, Facebook may be a better bet for some of those. But if you're in the professional world, absolutely everyone's on it. The other red flag I get, so if they don't know who their avatar is, that is a kind of, no, I can't work with you. Surprisingly, what I'm just about to say is so many people don't know what their proposition is, their value proposition. They don't really know what it is that they are actually going to be trying to convince people to do with them. So they don't know what they're trying to find. All they want to be, my pet hate, all things to all people. Stop it now. Niche or niche, depending on where you are in America. You don't need to but you need to have a fairly good idea. People on LinkedIn are looking up specialists. If you're a generalist, goodbye. You're not going to get much out of it. You really need to be a specialist and you need to know what your target market is. So I train people in looking at that. I'm one of the worst people in the world because if someone asked me at a networking meeting, what's my ideal referral? I know what I could say. I could just go, well, certain professions I work well with. So professional services, IT services, financial services, etc. I could choose to say a senior partner in a law company based in Greater Ottawa. My chances are Bernie might know someone. But the big problem there is that might not be his area of speciality. He might know loads of other people, but because I haven't mentioned them, he won't consider them. So I say to people, you need to know what it is. My line, which tends to get a bit of a laugh when they ask him, what's your idea of film? Anyone who's angry, annoyed or pissed off on LinkedIn. And everyone laughs, but they remember it. The reason they are fed up, annoyed, etc. with LinkedIn is because it probably worked for them once upon a time and LinkedIn's changed and they haven't kept up. We're talking about 400 changes in the last 2 years. I don't really understand the problem. They're not sure exactly what they want to do and who that ideal client is. And I said to them, you need to niche it down. You need to tell me to help you. I need to know exactly what you want. So many people don't iterate that very well, and that's a big problem.
We've covered the person, and I know on LinkedIn, you can either do your company as a profile, which I find handy when I'm talking about somebody. This is person X, and here's their company, and the LinkedIn profile is about the company. So it's just another avatar of them. Do you treat that business profile with the same panache, same tenacity? Do you leverage that and that comes to you? And then from the outside in, if I'm hunting for something, let's say I'm looking for the person, let's say I need to talk to a specialist in the city of Ottawa, and I'm over in the UK and I need this particular resource. Who knows that person? How do I search it out, either through the business LinkedIn page or the person? Do they help provide a better contrast so you're findable?
Let's make a statement. The LinkedIn company page was an afterthought. It came in 2010, 7 years after the main platform. They've twiddled with it. They tried to justify its existence. They now actually have a chargeable company page, which I find absurd because the standard one's not very good. That's not down to people putting the information in. That's down to the way they've constructed it. About 8 to 10% of your connections will have your post put in their feed. When you post from your company page, 1.75% of your followers, less than 2%. Now, most people's, not everyone, but most people have far less followers on their company page than they do have connections on their personal page. in which case you can see where the strength on this is. It's still a personal platform. When I'm looking, and I say to people, what I do, and I've always done on the company pages, I will go and find the company, go onto their company page, see who works there, look for the right job title, and off on back to their personal profiles. They are looking at the company page, get a bit of information. Oh, look, head of HR. Off I go, click on her link, and reach out to her via the personal page. The company page has uses, but it's not quite the same. Use that search engine at the top. Be targeted. If you're looking for something in particular, look up the term Boolean search. Do yourself a favor. It is not just for LinkedIn, it's for any database, and it's a very simple way of getting far more targeted results. So yeah, I'm not going to tell you what it does, but I use it all the time and you get much better results. So if I'm looking for someone in Ottawa, I can do a search for the person. You can also search for companies. There's lots of different searches in LinkedIn. People don't really use the search function properly. It's very powerful, even in the free version, but people just search for people. I search for groups, I search for posts, I search for companies. When I look at companies, I can define the size of the company, the industries, all that's in there, but no one knows how to use it.
You search for the hashtags or you search out for the industry?
So hashtags, absolutely. People don't consider you can do that. Yes, you certainly can. Searching for companies via the standard search on LinkedIn meant you didn't have as many filters. Now I can filter by size and a lot more, in which case I don't need sales navigators complexities for me. I don't have the time. It's a fantastic product, but I don't have the time to use it properly, in which case, why am I paying $80, $90 a month for it when I don't need to? And a lot of clients have left Navigator based on my training, which shows them how to do it and get fairly good results in the standard version.
One thing that I don't understand, by the way, I wish it was a curriculum vitae posting company. That was when I knew how to use it. But having said that, check me out on LinkedIn when you're already talking to them and you're sending them away to get more information, or it's, hey, I'm here, phone me. This strikes me as a journey, and I don't think I'm doing it very well.
I think the biggest problem is people's misunderstanding of the platform, not knowing how it works. As I say, you're trying to use a platform without the manual. Once you do have that manual, it's a lot easier to use it. I've just found you on LinkedIn, pretty straightforward. For me, it's a brilliant platform, but if you don't know exactly how to use it, it can be a bit frustrating. You're not getting the results you particularly need. And it's just a missing toolkit that LinkedIn never gave you, which makes if people are struggling on LinkedIn is common. I said the good thing and the bad thing at the same time is the fact that 98% of people I meet are struggling on LinkedIn. Whether they admit it or not, it's a different question. But when I ask a few questions, it's very obvious that they are. I can drop in some little hints and tips that they go, it's fantastic, brilliant. And I had one literally in a training session this morning where I showed them a certain feature. They'd had that feature before. I said, I've had it for 4 years. You just didn't know where it was. It's as simple as that.
You make reference that you train people in a wide age spectrum. Is there a certain part of the population that gets it, works with it, and runs with it quicker? Are you 20-something, 30-something, yeah, boom, and you're in there like Flynn, versus someone that's 75 and going, oh, I have to learn a whole new thing. I have to learn a whole new process. And smartphone, where is that damn thing? And how do I put an app on so I can read my LinkedIn profile?
The reason that I work between the ages of 16 and 85 is that I physically in the UK, I go into schools and teach 16 to 17-year-old children, not children these days, young adults, we call them, how LinkedIn can be useful to their future. And the majority of them have heard of it. A lot of them have misconceptions about it, which I debunk. And that's they soak up. But they really, I was nothing like that when I was 16. They're just so much more advanced than me. I get a lot of them come up to me at the end of sessions going, thank you, Mr. Silver. I didn't realize how useful LinkedIn could be because they've never been told. Same when I go into universities and I'm talking to the next level up to 25, 30. Once I show them what it can do, they change the complete attitude towards it. Then there's a bit of a dip. I would say late 20s through to early 40s. Once you get into sort of mid 40s onwards, that's where most of the people on LinkedIn that I train or I meet, etc. Because professional people have had to climb up the ladder to get to that professional level. And it's going to take you into your 40s and 50s. And then I work with a lot of people that are older than me. I'm just about to turn 65. Yes, it was a bit of a learning curve for someone to start learning all this at my age. But they understand that their ideal client, their ideal avatar is using LinkedIn, therefore they need to be conversant in how to use it. And yeah, absolutely. My 85-year-old, when I started working with her, she just turned 80. Her first comment was, I'm going to be a real pain to work with. My God, she was right. Because she didn't understand the technology. She didn't understand I had to go through things more than once, which is fine. It's a great learning curve for me as a trainer. And not everyone understands everything I say first time. But she got enough out of it to understand how to use it. There's 1.1 billion people on LinkedIn. But do they all actually want to use LinkedIn? The answer to that's no. Otherwise, every time I go to a networking event, everyone will be signing up to do work with me. It's not of great interest to every single person. It has to be something that they are got an emotional attachment to. They're invested in getting their LinkedIn sorted out. It means something to their career or to their business, etc. They can see a return on investment. For some people, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm doing okay. With that attitude, you don't need to work with me, and that's fine. I get that. Move on. Majority of my clients are probably north of 45, I would say. There are younger LinkedIn trainers out there who might have a bit more success in that particular area, but I think the professional level people, managers, directors, etc., yeah, it's more around that sort of age group.
Do you find that the person that will do the uptake and leverage the heck out of it is either a solopreneur, small, medium business, someone that has to get the marketing message out versus someone who's part of a corporation? Unless, of course, you're looking to career advance yourself and you're leveraging, you're researching that part. Is it kind of buckets of I sit there and see it and I'm just a consumer versus I'm a consumer producer versus I'm a producer and I'm pushing content?
I think we classify it as a micro business in the UK, like 6 people or less, which constitutes over 90% of all companies registered in the UK. So it's quite a large part of it. I really like working with smaller businesses and solopreneurs because the fact that they're putting their hand in their back pocket to pay me. It's not coming out of some corporate budget. Because I do run workshops where the people in that room have been told to go. They didn't volunteer, they didn't want to, they just had to turn up. And therefore, everything I teach them will be forgotten within seconds of them walking out the room. They don't care. So yeah, the solopreneurs and all that are, but I have this way when I go about doing a call with someone that I allow them to disqualify themselves. I don't want people that are not going to put the effort in. I don't want to work with generalists. I want to work with specialists. Also, I want to work with someone who, at the end of my training, they've got return on investment. The only way they're going to get return on investment is going back to that saying right at the beginning is it's not who you know, what you know, it's the action you take. Listening to me is great. I'm fantastic. I'm entertaining and lots of knowledge. If you don't apply that knowledge, waste of time and money. I don't want to work with people. They will say certain things in some of the questions that I ask them that gets me, I write a little note on my pad going, maybe not, or just a big fat no on my pad. They might say, yes, I like to go forwards. And I go, sorry, I don't think it's right at the moment in time. Because I know they're not going to put hard yards in. They know they're going to cause me hassle. My whole business is built upon reputation. The fact I have 355 LinkedIn recommendations, and I can quite confidently say that 98% of all my clients have achieved the return on investment. I'm not going to take on people that are going to dent those figures. But yes, in a corporate world, it's nice to have rather than essential. Depends on what their roles are within the company. Some people need to use it more than others. If you're in sales and you need to get more sales in the door, but as you say, if it's actually careers related, and I do about 10, 15% of my work's in the careers area, yeah, they definitely will be implementing it because they need that next role. They need to move on. They need to do something with it. But there's a large proportion of people that are just happy as they are.
Tony, you're on LinkedIn, and that's the part of the interview where we do this. 2 questions. The geography of North America, where everyone's speaking English and has a Zoom account, you probably can do business. Are there areas of geography that you prefer, and how do we get you if we fit in that geography?
I have fairly loose rules around. I have to be awake. It's quite important, I think, and therefore time zones are definitely a consideration. In places like Australia, it can become extremely difficult As long as you can speak English, that's the other thing. My issue, my problem, I only speak English. Luckily, it's the most common language in the business world. I've got clients in Canada, America, South America, across Europe, Dubai, Japan, Russia. I've got clients all over the place. They all speak English. The last consideration is they've all got decent broadband, so it doesn't drop out every 2 minutes. But no, realistically, I do struggle more with people on the west coast of America because that is 8 hours difference to me, in which case it does narrow the gap down. At 8 o'clock in the morning, for them, it's 4 o'clock in my afternoon. If they want to do stuff in their afternoon, I'm gone to bed. Therefore, it's not going to happen. Certainly for Americans, and I know you two guys are not American, the East Coast is much more dynamic. I would go as far to say that the New Yorkers are blunt, but I love that. And I will tell them to their face and they'll own it all day long. You don't get much fluff and BS in that part of the world. The further west you go, the more relaxed it gets and maybe not quite aligned. But as I say, north and south, yeah, Canadians, you're part of the Commonwealth. I've worked with Canadians across, I don't know, how many time zones you got up there? Was it 5 or something? It's an awful lot. And yes, it can be challenging, but we probably got more in common because you're part of the Commonwealth. When I go down below the border in areas that I've worked off down there, it's not too bad. Europe's easy because Europe's only 1, 2, 3 hours ahead. It doesn't really matter. When you go out Far East and Dubai and all that, it does get a little bit further away. But realistically, no. Speak English, have a decent broadband signal, and not be too late in the day. I could do later appointments, but I always say to people, I want to give you the best version of me. At 7 o'clock at night, probably isn't the best version of me if I've been up since 7 o'clock in the morning. You're probably not going to get the best. And that is not what I want to do. I want to make sure you get the best experience possible.
I want to say thank you to Tony K. Silver, my co-host Wayne Pratt, and you, the Knack for Business listeners. If you need to get your LinkedIn perspective sorted out, Tony's here to help you avoid getting banned. More importantly, how to present yourself, how to connect with people, good etiquette. Tony's your man.
To reach the podcast hosts, email them at info@creativeinsight.com or by the website creativeinsight.com, spelled KREATIVINSIGHT.com. To reach Wayne at his email, wayneemotive8u.ca, that is MOTIVE, the numeral 8, and the letter u.ca, or his website, motive8u.ca. If you would like to be a guest on this podcast and share your knowledge, let us know. We would also appreciate your feedback on the content or format. Check the show notes for more details. For these podcasts, we like to acknowledge the support and thanks to the following people. Carl Richards from Podcast Solutions Made Simple, a renowned podcast expert. Fred Crouch, who is the Property Wizard podcaster, where Bernie is a co-host. Jovan Strika from A Hive, a co-working space that is more than just a space. Then Melanie Weber, Bernie's invaluable business partner, and Wayne Pratt from Motive 8U Inc., who serves as both a coach and co-host of these podcasts. Disclaimer, please note that the Knack for Business podcast episodes are meant solely for educational and general informational purposes. The information and opinions contained within are not intended to be professional advice on any subject matter. The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed by the participants are their own personal beliefs and do not represent the views of the podcast hosts or any affiliated organizations. It is important to note that this podcast is not a replacement for consulting with certified experts in your area who possess knowledge of your unique situation. The hosts of the podcast, along with any participants or affiliated groups, do not take responsibility for any actions taken or not taken based on the information presented in this episode. It is highly recommended that individuals seek guidance from their own personal advisors in fields such as accounting, law, or other pertinent areas prior to undertaking any actions or making decisions that may impact their financial, legal, or other aspects of life.